Welcome to part C of my airspace and chart presentation. I am going to start off on my website's landmarks tab. If you have a VFR landmark that you'd like to see a picture of in the Bay Area, you can go to BayAreaFlyingLessons.com, go to the landmarks tab, and then for example for Palo Alto Airport, if you wanted to see Stanford Stadium, you could see a larger version of that picture by clicking on it. And then Stanford Stadium will show up, and this is Stanford Stadium looking to the southeast, and it shows you a good view of Stanford Stadium and the surrounding terrain. I'll close that. And I'm going to go through the different scales of the aeronautical charts. There are world aeronautical charts, or WAC charts. They have a scale of 1 to 1 million. Most people don't use those in their flight training, but then when they go on longer trips, like I'll show an example of flying from Palo Alto to Las Vegas, Nevada, where a WAC chart can be handy because you can see the whole trip on one chart instead of having to buy 3 different sectional charts to go to Las Vegas. So the sectional charts that we use a lot have a scale of 1 to 500,000 or 1 to half a million, and then the terminal area charts have twice as much detail, and they have a scale of 1 to 250,000. So all of the charts have a date panel and a legend panel. Some have a few more panels with information, as I showed before, but the legend panel is on one side, and then the date panel on the other side, and then you may have other additional panels on the back. And the typical structure of a sectional chart or a WAC chart is to have the north side of the chart on one side, and then when you flip it over, you have the south side of the chart. So if you were to have two of the same chart, like 2 San Francisco sectionals, you can actually put the north and the south side together and tape them and do your flight planning in that way, and then take them apart for your actual flight if you're crossing over the seam of the chart. So I'll be going through topographical information, maximum elevation figures, airport data blocks, VFR reporting points, and we'll cover some special circumstances, like if you're flying down to Los Angeles and have to go through the Class Bravo airspace there. So starting off with a comparison between the world aeronautical chart and the sectional chart and the terminal chart for the same area. So this is the San Francisco Bay Area again, from about downtown San Francisco, including San Francisco Airport and San Carlos, Palo Alto, Moffett, San Jose, and San Jose Reed Hillview. So I have the Sky Vector chart viewer zoomed all the way in, and that's what we can see from one end of the Bay Area to the next. Not a lot of detail though. At this world aeronautical chart level, there are no depictions of Class Delta airspace and no magenta shading for the Class E floor at 700 feet. You can see the exterior outline of Class Charlie airspace for San Jose and for Oakland, and you can see the Bravo airspace, the exterior outline only out here over the ocean, going out 25 and 30 nautical miles, but not a lot of detail. This one chart can take you all the way to Las Vegas, so they can't put a lot of detail on it. The next level, we go to a sectional chart of the same area, and now you can't see downtown San Francisco, you can just see San Francisco Airport, and you can't see Reed Hillview or Southeast San Jose anymore, you just see San Jose Airport. At this sectional chart level, you see the familiar Bravo airspace lines and Charlie airspace lines, and every segment of the Bravo and Charlie is visible. The altitudes become visible now, for example. For the Bravo and the Charlie airspace, they weren't before. delta airspace is depicted. You see the magenta shading again. So a lot more detail on the sectional chart than the WAC chart. And then for even greater detail, you can go to what I call the high definition chart, the terminal area chart. Now, zoomed in at the greatest level, we can see only San Carlos Airport to Moffett Field and Palo Alto Airport in between. And now also more VFR reporting points or visual reporting points that air traffic control should recognize are visible. Like here's a red flag at SLAC, the Stanford Linear Accelerator, and if you were to want to type that into your flight planner or GPS, you can type in the identifier here, VPSLA. Sometimes if you're at a higher chart level, like the sectional chart, you'll see that there's a intersection called Sonol for a visual reporting point, but you don't actually see the GPS identifier VP SUN, so you have to go down to the terminal chart to see that level of detail. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show is, this shows you the CG18, the California, Nevada, essentially world aeronautical chart. And what the chart viewer shows is both the north and the south side of the charts together. So again, this chart actually appears on a back and front. So this could be the front and this could be the back. And if you were going to fly across the seam, you want to temporarily take them together and then draw your lines and then take them back apart again. But what I put in is a flight plan from Palo Alto to Las Vegas. The way I got this, you just go up here and click on the flight plan button, put in your identifiers, PAO or KPAO and LAS or KLAS, and then it'll draw a line for you. It'll show you the course of 087 degrees, 346 nautical miles, and it'll even give you a time estimate. If this airplane was to go 110 knots ground speed, it would take 3 hours and 8 minutes to go from Palo Alto to Las Vegas. So it shows you what a large area that the WAC charts can display, and we can zoom in a little bit and get a little bit more detail. I've flown this flight before, and this direct route is not really possible unless you want to breathe oxygen. So if you go on a direct route, you wind up passing over some of the highest terrain in the Sierras just north of Mount Whitney, and the mountains are in the 13,000 to 14,000 foot range for the peaks. So the route that I prefer is to go a little bit farther south towards Porterville, and that's been altered. The tough thing going back and forth between these windows is that one flight plan manipulates another. I have to zoom out here. So this is actually better because this shows the two routes at the same time. This was the direct route from Palo Alto to Las Vegas, and this is the route that goes a little bit south of Porterville over the Thule VOR. And it's just a little bit greater distance, but it doesn't take that much longer to actually fly the route. I think it's 20 nautical miles extra distance, and that would just be like maybe 11 minutes longer or something like that. And you wind up going over terrain here that is in a 9 to 10,000 foot peak level, so it's a little bit easier to cross. The only bad thing about that route is that there is a restricted area in your way then, and if we zoom in, you can see that our course takes us through a restricted area, R2505, and when I've done this before, you contact Joshua Approach. If you don't actually see any frequencies on the chart, if you're not already getting flight following, you can look up Joshua Approach by looking up one of the nearby airports like in Kern and looking up the radar controller, and they'll show you a Joshua Approach and the appropriate frequency. But you call them prior to reaching the restricted area and ask them if you can transition the restricted area. And if they say yes, you're cleared into the restricted area, you may. If they don't say that you're cleared into the restricted area, you have to be prepared to jog to the north and go around it and then proceed to Las Vegas.